welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. It has been a long break, but hopefully Big Meat's life is getting back to normal now. So we're a little rusty, but we're going to try to get back into hopefully another rhythm. Our third man will not be joining us today, but we'll try to fill in his craziness between the two of us. Let me welcome my partner, Big Meat. What's going on, Big Meat?
What's up, Azar? I know our third man in is missing again. Yeah. He's but that's okay. That's okay. I like it when it's just us two because then we don't. I don't think we go off the rails. I think we go a little bit off the rails when our third man in is in. Yeah. So which I kind of like sometimes. I do like it sometimes. It's not nothing against him, but I do have a.
You have a healthier thirst when he's on the podcast.
Yes.
You. And then when you both have a healthy thirst, I get we're going 3 hours. We're doing it today. So sometimes I'm happy when Jarvis isn't on because I know it's going to be a quick podcast, but then it's not as entertaining when he's got his cherry head face laughing and.
Well, this has to be a quick podcast because I only have like 45 minutes from now to wrap this up. But and in this case here, I'm not drinking. And I've said this before, when Jarvis is on and he's drinking and he gets a little rowdy, and now he gets a little louder. Now I have to get loud and I have to outdo him. And before you know it, now I'm drinking faster. And I think then it makes him drink faster.
Well, then the problem is you get upset because then you're doing more editing because you have to clean up the podcast because Jarvis always drops something that's like, well, that could be a problem. Let's get rid of that. so I know you do more editing when people don't even know what's actually removed from the podcast just to protect everybody's interest.
That's right. That's right. One day we'll release the unedited feature. The bonus edition.
Yes.
Only on DVD.
Or we'll just hold him when Jarvis makes it big and is rich. We'll use it as extortion at some point. So
there you go.
That's the other.
There you go. Yeah, I gotta hang on to those files.
Don't delete. Don't delete. All right, let's jump into it just because of the tight time limit. I just wanted to introduce a whiskey. I sent you the picture of it, Big Meat. Yes, I will tell you right from the beginning, it captured my attention just because it had a raccoon on the bottle. It got my interest. I wanted to see what that was about. And if you love peanut butter whiskey, like Screwball, you're going to love these whiskeys. I have to say, and Big Meat and I have tried so many brands of whiskeys. And by the way, I got to say a little sidebar. There are so many more brands of peanut butter whiskey that we haven't even seen, Big Meat. I got to tell you, I was in that Total Wine and Liquor store in Burlington. There's more of a selection than we thought of peanut butter whiskey. We barely scratched the surface. But for the most part, we've been disappointed with all of them. Screwball seems to be the gold standard. And that's been my favorite after dinner whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say, there's some rivals coming up now to Screwball. There's a brand of whiskey called Scatterbrain, and they're kind of funny because each whiskey has a different animal with sunglasses on it. So there's a Scatterbrain dark cherry vanilla whiskey, and I know you're a big fan of vanilla whiskey, Big Meat. I think it's Jim Beam.
I am. Jim Beam has a very good vanilla whiskey.
This dark cherry vanilla is delicious. It goes down smooth. It's not over sugary, but it is a delicious. It's a delicious whiskey. And again, I say it. I don't know if it's something that I would want to drink all night. It's sweet enough that after dinner you want that instead of dessert, you want a glass of whiskey. This is the way to go. But there was one that I was skeptical. I wasn't sure if I would like it. It had a monkey on it. It's Scatterbrain dark chocolate banana whiskey. I've never had a banana whiskey.
Okay, I thought we did. Didn't we have? But no, maybe not.
We had
maybe
banana beer.
Banana beer, yeah.
Banana beer.
I remember
banana
that.
bread beer or something like that. It was called or whatever. This dark chocolate banana was delicious. It's got that sweet chocolate notes, but it's got a little hint of banana to it. But it's not overpowering. It's like if you're not a big fan of bananas, it's not going to be like an overpowering whiskey. Yeah. But it also was extremely delicious. Not over sweet. It didn't have some weird aftertaste. Like it went down smooth for a whiskey. Again, I had it after a nice dinner. I was like, you know what? I don't want dessert. I don't want cake. I want a glass of whiskey. And I bought Nips just because I didn't want to commit to a bottle, because I made that mistake with the PB&J and stuff. It was just disgusting. Then you're like forcing yourself to drink a disgusting bottle. I am actually going back to buy these whiskeys. Now, they do have a peanut butter whiskey, but because I've had so many, I didn't want to start with the peanut butter whiskey. I'm like, I still love Screwball. I don't want, why challenge it? But now I'm actually going to go back and get their peanut butter, because if the other two are that good, I wonder how good the peanut butter whiskey is. And I don't even know how many more flavors they have, but I do know they have them at Total Wine and Liquors in Burlington. So if you're driving down Route 3, 128, I highly recommend getting them. I don't know what the full-size bottles, but the Nips are reasonable. If you want to just try an assortment, they're like 99 cents a nip. So I bought a few, and they were a great addition. So I'm definitely going back and picking up a few bottles. So I haven't seen them in New Hampshire liquor stores for those that live in New Hampshire, but if you're in Mass, definitely worth the investment. I'm telling you, you're going to find these things out in the public soon, because I've never seen them before. They were actually in a display that this place has, where the employees make their picks of different whiskeys and drinks or alcohols or wines. And this was like in the center of the display, and they were highlighting this brand. So again, if you're looking for something tasty, Big Meat, after your dinner, I know you're cutting calories because you want to get into your swimsuit body for Maine before you start retiring this summer.
Yes, sir.
If you want to cut back on those cakes, this is the best dessert whiskey for you.
Well, and that was kind of expected back when Screwball first came out, and you had a couple of those brands that we've talked about, and we said, gee, I mean, every time you go to a liquor store, there's this new peanut butter flavored whiskey that's on the shelf, and eventually it's going to take off, and all these manufacturers are going to come up with their own. So it was kind of expected now that it's been a couple years, roughly 2 or 3 years since Screwball first came out. But yeah, that's the way to go. You mentioned getting the Nips, because we've tried a lot over the years, and I mean, there's some that we don't ever mention on this podcast because they're just that bad, and maybe we should mention the bad ones, so you can avoid those when you go to the liquor store. But the Nips is the best way to go, because you're buying these $30-$40 bottles every time, and it gets ridiculous. But
they do have people with Screwball. There's a drink you can get with Screwball called peanut butter and jelly. It's made with peanut butter whiskey, which is Screwball, with Chambord or raspberry liqueur.
Sure. Yeah.
This Scatterbrain whiskey actually has one called PB&J already made. So if you're looking for that combo without worrying about buying the combination, I haven't tried it. I haven't tried their peanut butter, but they do have a peanut butter on its own, and they have a peanut butter and jelly. So I will be buying those two to sample them. Yeah.
And you're starting to find a lot of those type of mixed drinks at restaurants on the menu. And you kind of scroll through and you see like, peanut butter. They have like one drink I know it in Tewksbury at Alfresca's, and they call it PB&J, and they use the Screwball peanut butter whiskey, and they put the Chambord in there, and they put like the raspberry jam kind of around the rim, and it's delicious. But you're starting to see that more and more at restaurants on their drink menus. So Screwball has really taken off.
This is how much we've been ahead of it. We were talking about PB&J almost 2 years ago, because I mentioned that someone was in North Carolina, and that's when they first had it, and that was way before it ever really made its way up here, and we were already having it or talking about it on the podcast. So
it's funny how many times, like even just off the podcast, just in passing, when you see like talk to people and you say, peanut butter whiskey, and they're like, they have no idea what you're talking about, and they're like, really, like peanut butter, and then you try to explain to them, get Screwball, that's the best kind. And then now, 2 years later, if you asked anybody, like everybody knows about it. Everybody is familiar with it. So it's great. It's great to see, it's great to see that our research has paid. I like to think that our podcast has really helped Screwball take off. If it wasn't for us, they may be out of business, Azar. Who knows?
Maybe. Or on the flip side, we drove other ones out of business because we said how bad they were.
That's true. That's true. They all hate us.
Yeah. There is a brand of Scatterbrain. I haven't seen it, but they do have on their website. They do make a vanilla cake whiskey. So I'm telling you, they all have different animals on the cover representing the different ones. But if you're starting with like an old fashioned or a Manhattan for the pregame of dinner, or just straight scotch or something, this is the perfect finish. Like, you don't have to switch alcohols or get or like a Cosmo or a martini or like something. Like, you can just stay with whiskey the whole way.
So you said this Scatterbrain has a monkey on the
peanut butter, the chocolate banana has a monkey on the bottle.
Okay, so it's weird. There was a monkey on the banana bread. Now that I'm thinking back, I thought there was a monkey on the banana bread beer that we tried. I don't know what the hell monkey. I guess monkeys and bananas, but it's funny that you say the monkey on the bottle, because I just think back to the one that I looked at that I found at a liquor store that I want to go back and buy it, and I want to try it, and I just, because I love the name, and it's got a picture of a chicken on the bottle, and it's called Chicken Cock. That's the one I want to try. Chicken Cock. It's Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and that's I'm going to go back there, and that's going to be on our next podcast. I'm going to get it. I'm going to try it. I don't think they have any nips. I think so I think I'm just going to have to
bite the bullet.
Yeah, and get the whole bottle.
All right, Big Meat. Well, that's our drink recommendation. If you're looking for something new, St. Patty's Day is over, so get off your Guinness, get off your Jameson, and start. If you want something new, I think Cold Snap is wrapping up soon, so stock up on your Sam Adams Cold Snap and get ready for the new season. That's coming around the corner here. All right, Big Meat. Let's get into a quick entertainment, just because we're at the tight schedule. You wanted to talk about the movie that you're the most excited about that's coming out soon. What's that?
Yeah, there's quite a few. And now this is movies and shows. I'm just kind of bundling them into one, because now with the streaming shows, they're kind of like extended movies, right? And the quality is like, they're not made for network television anymore, right? These are high quality, like some of them big budget shows. So I'm kind of lumping them into one category here. But the one that is, and there's a few of them that are coming out this year, but the one that I'm actually looking forward to, and it's coming up pretty quickly here, is Morbius. Morbius is it's made by Sony, and if you watch the trailer, they drop like a Venom reference in it. If you notice, like in the background, there's like pictures of Spider-Man on the wall. It's almost like with somebody like spray painted murderer on it. So it's kind of like dating back to like the whole thing in Spider-Man 2. There's even Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture from the first one. He's like, there's like one scene in here where he's like talking. So it's just, I'm very curious as to how that's going to relate to the MCU. And then I know with like Venom, and now that's kind of, he's coming back into like, they're introducing those characters into the MCU. I'm just curious how it actually works out and how it all turns out with this character. It's just, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did have, one of those like cool cameos, like in the last Spider-Man movie where, somebody turns up, you're like, oh shit, like I didn't realize he was going to be in this movie. So I think it's just kind of one of those movies that's under the radar, and they made the movie, I think, a year ago. So it's been just a long time coming. They had to delay it a bunch of times. So it's just building up. So that's certainly one that I'm looking forward to, just to see how it's tied into everything.
And it's much darker than most Marvel movies. It seems like or it's Sony.
It is.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But for an MCU character, it's a dark movie. It's almost like a DC type of. Sometimes I get confused. I think it's like a DC movie versus a Marvel movie or MCU movie. I'm sorry. That's it. That it is something. I know the family's all hyped up about it. I mean, we did watch the most recent Batman movie, which was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, Big Meat.
I did not.
We'll wait for you to watch it. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So I'll wait to talk about that. But that is worth the time. I mean, I was a little nervous about the lead character, but the nice thing about it, when you don't have great actors and they don't make them talk a lot, that's great.
Yeah, but I think I've said this before. Everybody knows that, and I didn't see the new Batman movie, but everybody knows that character from like the old vampire series, like the teen vampire show that was out years ago, right? But since then, that guy has actually played in a lot of like badass type movies. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I just know like that's like he doesn't don't think of him as that same vampire character he played in those movies.
All right, so you watch the movie and then you'll go and correct yourself on that statement.
All right,
because they take advantage of that. I never watched the Twilight series. I've seen, my daughter has watched it, my wife has watched it. I know they like it, so I've seen it in passing. But I know with those movies, because it's a teen type of movie,
right.
A lot of focus on the guy just brooding. It's like that just pause and brood, like that's
but wait a minute,
but they like that do that smoldering look that The Rock does.
But wait a minute, isn't Bruce Wayne supposed to be brooding? Like, isn't that his character?
It, but so my point is, you say he's different, yes, but he's doing the same thing that he was very good at during the Twilight movies, I guess, because all they do is focus on his face. He's got that same broody look, and you're like, all right, this is why.
No, see, I think you're doing exactly what I said, because you're looking at him the same way you would look at like Ben Affleck in when he was Batman, because you think of Ben Affleck of like those terrible movies he was in. It's like, well, he can't be Batman, and I thought he was actually a pretty decent Batman. It's the same thing with Heath Ledger when he played Joker. Everyone's like, oh, Heath Ledger, like the gay cowboy that played in that gay cowboy movie. He was great. He was like the best Joker that's ever played that character. So sometimes you just have to kind of look past the characters that he's played before. Like, they have this stigma that it's like, oh, he can't play that character because, it's like, I always use this guy as an example because he's a perfect example. Like Steve Urkel from Family Matters, right? Like, you get somebody like Steve Urkel, all of a sudden it's like, hey, I want to branch out. I want to be the next action movie star. It's like, no, man, you're going to be Urkel. You're always going to be Urkel. I can't look past that. But sometimes, I don't know. I don't think that's fair to some actors. Like, if they want to be an action movie star,
I'm just telling you, I get why they casted him. He fit the role. He did a good job. I'm not knocking him. The nice thing about it is he wasn't talking. They didn't rely on his acting prowess to make the movie. It was a dark movie. The villain was very good in it, which is always great, because when the villain gets you sucked into the movie, which is, again, going back to the Heath Ledger, as the reason he was so good is because as a villain, he was like someone, he got you so you wanted to see him in more scenes because you liked the villain. We talk about that in Game of Thrones. You get sucked in because the villain, you want to see him more. Like, what's next? What crazy thing is he going to do next?
Right.
So the twist on this Batman movie is different, and it doesn't follow the same cliche story. We all know the story of Batman, and it always starts like as an origin story every time they start the series over again. This one they didn't. He was already Batman.
Okay, I was gonna say, did his parents get killed again?
Yeah, but there's a twist on his parents. There's a twist on his parents, which was good, because they're always like the hero of the community. There's a twist to this, so it's very interesting. It's worth the movie theater admission, right? There's not a lot of movies I would say right now that have come out. You're like, oh, worth the movie theater admission. It's probably better dropping it on Netflix or something. It's that quality type of movie. This one was well worth it in the theater. It was well done, and I think they definitely. I feel like DC finally made a good movie. It's been a long time since DC has made a really quality movie. Since I'd say Wonder Woman, it was probably their last solid movie. The original Wonder Woman.
Now, this won't spoil it for me, but let me ask you: is this Batman tied into the current DC movies at all, or is it just kind of standalone? Totally.
It's not as cartoonish. So what's interesting is you'll go into the movie and you'll see the Penguin, even the Riddler. Your perception is like, oh, he's going to have like that Jim Carrey question mark costume like he did.
Right.
Totally. It is actually almost in a setting where it's almost like, I think that's why people thought it was so dark, because it wasn't cartoonish character. Even the Penguin is in this movie, but he's not his cartoonish form that you see. He's actually a mob boss in the movie.
Right. And I heard he's played by Colin Farrell, which is like, and he had all this makeup on, and it's like he doesn't even look like anything like him.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was Colin Farrell. That's actually really good. I didn't even know that was him.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was him. But now that you think about it, now I can see the expression. Now I'm picturing him in my head. Yeah, that does sound right. But anyways, it's a nice twist to Batman, and it goes.
I don't know if you understood what I was asking earlier. It's not tied into the same universe
No,
as Wonder Woman
no,
and
no,
Aquaman and like
no,
no.
no. Like I
Okay,
said, I don't think it wouldn't make any sense because even Batman himself isn't cartoonish. You know how like you have all this power, like he has all these abilities and all these things. They make him
sure.
more mortal. Like he, even though he's rich, I guess you have to see it because even when you look at the Batmobile, it isn't what you think it's going to be. It's not like this high tech, like super thing.
Hmm.
You've seen the previews of the movie. He spends most of his time on a motorcycle.
Right.
Like, so it's not, and like when you look at the villains, they're all normal people. Some of them are crazy. Even
Hmm.
like the new Joker that they're introducing he's in Arkham Asylum, but they're just crazy people. They're not
Yeah.
cartoonish crazy.
Well, they kind of do it. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, even though I hated the Lex Luthor character from the he
Yeah,
was in whatever Justice League and
yeah.
Superman before that, but
Oh, thank God
he,
he's not in it. No.
I mean, he was awful. But I mean, some of those movies are kind of dark. Like I hated the Superman versus Batman versus Superman movie, but that was pretty dark. And then you got like Suicide Squad, which is supposed to be in the same universe, right? That was silly.
Yeah.
Shazam, which I actually like
I
Shazam,
still
but
have to
that
watch
was
it. I actually saw the previews. I'm like, I want to watch it. Doesn't look that
oh,
bad.
it's good. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, they're coming out with the sequel coming up.
So when
So
you're watching Batman,
yeah.
you'll get the hint of the movie Seven. You ever see the one with Brad
Oh
Pitt?
yeah. Very like dark and very like
It's
yeah,
got the villain
yeah.
is almost like copying that format of a villain from the
Right.
movie Seven. So it's not a traditional Batman movie. It's actually like a detective story. And
Okay.
I read that somewhere and I'm like, that's right. Because it seems like it's more like Batman trying to solve a crime
Yeah.
than like you like remember the original Michael Keaton movie with Jack Nicholson and like he's trying to figure out how he's poisoning people with his thing. And it's like they introduce him almost like a detective, but they didn't really spend a lot of time on that. In this movie, he's a detective. He's goes
Mm,
with the police. He's trying to help the police solve the
mm,
murders, and figure out why. And why is he trying to bait Batman
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Well,
So
well, a lot of the DC movies, I mean, that they just and Marvel does this too. They have a different tone to each movie, and it's like
yeah,
sometimes it's like, yeah, it's still in the same universe, but we don't want to make the same thing every single time. So,
yeah.
um,
Like
yeah,
that show Gotham that was on.
yeah.
Like
I
the
didn't really
villains,
watch it, but
but the
yeah,
villains were normal villains. They weren't like all cartoonish. Like I didn't
right,
watch the series myself either, but it looked like it was more
yeah,
like real world, I guess, like a
sure.
real crime
So
story, I
does this
guess.
mean is the DC universe dead? Is it like are they
I
just making now they're just gonna make movies and just say, hey, these are standalone, like they can make a new like Wonder Woman movie and it's just
Could be
another
a
character.
multiverse.
It's like
It could do a multiverse. Who could,
yeah,
if Marvel can pull it off, who's to
right,
say that Christian Bale doesn't come back as another Batman
sure. Well,
or
DC did
Ben
pull it
Affleck?
off. DC did it first on TV. Like they did it with the
Yeah,
Flash. They did it like they've done everything that you see that you're seeing in Marvel that everyone's like, oh, it's such a great idea. It's like DC's already done this. They've
yeah.
already done it years ago on
Smaller scale.
on
Smaller
a much
scale.
smaller scale on a television show format. But I did happen talking about the DC universe. I did end up watching Peacemaker,
Oh
and
yeah,
it was actually pretty good.
yeah.
There were some parts that it got too serious, and I just said, "Ah, you're just killing the whole flow of this." Like, if you're gonna go crazy silly, like just stay
Stay
crazy
silly.
silly.
Yeah.
Don't go too drama. But I did like the end scene where they had the cameos coming. I don't want to spoil it, but they had some pretty cool cameos at the very end, the last episode. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just I wonder how DC is going to move forward because I feel like they're just all over the place now. They're just trying every single thing to make it work, and some movies are okay and some are terrible, like Wonder Woman 1984, and
Well,
um,
I got to say, sadly, what we've experienced with DC and Warner Brothers Studios, they this has been a success, and that the studio will screw it up, just like they did with Wonder Woman. Someone's going to
right,
come in, the studio executives are going to have some input, like, hey, this really resonated. We made a lot of money on this. Let's do this. Like, and hopefully the director like my son's really into the director and his vision. Like he's been following it more closely. If they let the director have his vision, and not screw it up or fight over money or things, I like the way this guy is going. But my fear is it's always with DC and Warner Brothers executives. They'll screw it up. They'll do something in the second movie where it's just like like, no, we want more characters and bring in these make the story look stupid because we want to pump as many more characters and so we can make spin-off movies and something stupid like that. But, my faith in DC is after Wonder Woman 2 was like, what are you guys doing? Like, how can you screw this up? Like, that was like one of your best successful movies, and you found a way to screw up the second one and made it so PC
badly. Like, I mean, it was
swinging a miss.
It was awful.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's not drag on to this. I know we got to cover some more topics. Let's get another question. A closing thought.
No. I would just say real quick on just another update. It's not till really the summertime, and I mentioned this before we started. Is Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus? That's I liked his character from the prequel, so I'm happy that they actually brought him back to have his own show now and kind of explain what the hell he's been doing in the desert all those years when like Luke Skywalker was a little boy, and so he's got his whole he's got a whole new story coming up.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, Boba Fett kind of fell flat. It wasn't as the we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we'll have to say that for another podcast because we should get into Boba Fett with Jarvis because we all have some thoughts on that show. I know he wasn't the biggest fan. All right, so speaking of Marvel, going back to Marvel and Disney Plus, actually, which you got me thinking. So we watched Spider-Man: No Way Home, and then I was wondering why Daredevil or what's his name, Matthew Broderick,
Murdoch.
Murdoch. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Matthew Broderick. I'm like Murdoch.
Ferris Bueller.
I was wondering. I'm like, why did they put him in? Like, that's interesting. It's good. Like, it got us all excited. All this, like, oh, they're gonna make Daredevil. Everybody got excited, and then I find out Disney Plus is getting all of the Marvel franchise from Netflix. It's finally moving over to Disney Plus. So I wonder if this was all part of the plan. Like, let's get everybody excited because Disney Plus is now it's almost like they set it up knowing if we put Murdoch in this movie, people are going to wonder who he is. We bring him over from Netflix because a lot of people may have not watched him on Netflix. Now he's on our platform. Now people will rewatch this franchise all over again, right? Like it sucks people back in, right? Because he's a random character. And like they don't know why, like people probably didn't understand why people were cheering when they saw him or excited to see him, unless you watch the Netflix series. And now you have, and I don't know if you saw it on Disney Plus. Now you have to check off because now they actually brought in mature content on Disney Plus, and you have to actually sign off on that, which I thought was pretty cool. That answered my concern. Will Disney Plus allow risky content to be on their platform? But
I've been saying that ever since it came out. It's like they'd be missing the boat if they didn't. I mean, now you got Deadpool coming back as well. I mean, those R-rated movies were great. And now that he's part of Marvel or the MCU, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, just going to completely like eliminate that character? That's a big moneymaker for him. I mean, you Disney Plus would have to just kind of branch out and have a little bit more R-rated content. They have to do it. Venom is the same way, right? Venom was R-rated.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I'm excited about it. It dawned on me once I saw the like all over Twitter, Disney Plus bragging how they're bringing this Daredevil and all these like Punisher over, and I'm like,
it was fan service for sure. It was
yeah.
definitely like all those fans watching the Netflix shows, like, oh yeah, now they're gonna be bringing him in. But you make a good point. It's like it's just their way to just watch all those because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There was like 6, 7, like more than that, maybe 8 seasons in all, right? You had the Daredevil, you had Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage. You had a second season of Daredevil.
Wasn't that 3?
I thought there was 2, but then there was also Defenders.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
5. So that's 6. And then you also had Punisher. Was there 2 seasons of Punisher?
2 seasons of Punisher.
That's 8, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of content.
Like I said, we were played. Marvel, Disney Studios played us. They put that character in. all they needed to do was put the Punisher like walking by or something.
Yeah.
Or, like,
just a picture of like the skull, like is just in the background somewhere. Yeah.
Yep. I thought it was like because they were gonna let us like anyways, I felt like we were played. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm actually happy they're on Disney Plus. It's fine. They were great shows if you'd never watched them. I did. You know, I'm going to save my recommendation for the next podcast because we're just going to running out of time. But I did want to say, we talked about who was that movie star that is this generation movie star that everybody watches, and this series of movies that like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, like no matter what he's in, you're watching. And I finally figured out who it is. It's freaking Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is in so many movies. He plays the same guy over and over again. It's the same character in every single movie, but they're actually good action movies. Like everything he's in is actually entertaining. It's just like that stretch when Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they were making movie after movie, and you were like, they're all good movies. Not great. They're never like these like blockbuster movies, but they're fun to watch. They're like you don't have to put a lot of thought into them. He's funny to watch. He's got that sarcastic personality, but the movies end up being pretty funny and good action movies at the end of the day. So he's the modern action star. As we said, you said Chris Pratt. You recommended Chris Pratt, but Chris Pratt doesn't make as many movies as Ryan Reynolds. I mean, right now he's got a contract with Netflix, so I don't know how many more movies he's pumping out. But
I like Ryan Reynolds, and I loved Red Notice. It made my top 5, right? But that's because it also had The Rock and it also had Gal Gadot in it.
Yeah, but you watched it because he was in it.
I did, and he was great in it, and I do like his character. I wouldn't say he's on that same level because he does pump out all these movies that, I don't know, they're not like number one at the box office. It's not like, I don't know if he's that big of a draw that like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were. I think Chris Pratt is.
Yeah, but
I think Chris Pratt, all those Jurassic Park movies, all the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avenger movies, like he's been in some like top 10 box office movies.
I get that. But we're in a new era of streaming movies, and if he signs a contract with Netflix, and that's where we'll never really know. Would Red Notice, how well would have Red Notice done it in the movie theater? Because if you think you put all the stars in one movie, that probably would have been like one of the top 10 movies of the year. I guarantee you, with The Rock and Moneymaker, between The Rock and Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds, that probably would have had a good draw in the movie theater.
Yeah, it would have. But I think he's one of the better ones for sure. When he comes out with something, it's like you get excited to watch his movie. Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know if he's got that star power that, even The Rock. Especially this is where we need Jarvis. The Rock is like that guy. Like he's really that guy, but he's getting older, and you got to come up with somebody new.
Yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds, if like Rock is a draw. Like if you think of between Jumanji movies and all the movies that he's made, Rampage, they're all decent movies, and he does a good job with them. But you're right, he's getting older. But you know what? We say that, but Sylvester Stallone was still making The Expendables all the way into his 80s. Like how old was he making that movie? Like he still made a Rambo, and he's like 80 years old. So I mean, Sylvester Stallone's going down like Clint Eastwood. They're gonna make movies until like they're 99. Like, it's amazing what they do. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out because I watched The Addams Project. Again, another Ryan Reynolds movie, same personality, but it was well done. It was like it had a lot of action. It was fun to watch. It was a good 2 hours, and you were out. It was like, yep, that was fun. I
gotta go. I gotta check that one out for sure.
All right, Big Meat. I'm gonna save my recommendation for a show. Just because it's coming out. So hopefully maybe we can squeeze in a podcast before it's released next week, right? On March 30th.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's try to squeeze something out. I want to do a little bit more research on the show because I don't want to talk about it without knowing, because this is going to be something that we're going to dive into. And it's a series for 6 weeks, so I'd like to put some time. Let's get into the NFL, just because for the last few minutes that you have. So I know you asked a question before the podcast. What were the best moves so far?
Right.
This has been a crazy offseason. I've never seen an offseason like this where so many elite quarterbacks are moving.
Yeah, I was going to say quarterbacks more so than anything.
Yeah,
they're moving
and that's
around.
where I want to focus, because the quarterback situation, including those who have stayed in their thing and those that came out of retirement, are mind-blowing. Like the AFC is shaken up a lot, considerably. The NFC feels like it's still holding on to the grandfathers of the league, the older quarterbacks. But like, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, what is the biggest shock so far that you've seen?
So we're going biggest shock, or I think like the biggest move, or that I think could make the most impact for the team.
Both. Let's do both, because because I think they go kind of hand in hand. Like, it's gonna
So I guess
shake up fantasy.
Right, and this is a little bit of a shock as well. So I guess it answers both, but I do have one in mind because of all the moves, and this is not just free agent signings. This is trades. This is everything. I think the biggest move that I think will shake up the league, that I think is going to make the most impact for that team, that is, if he ends up playing, is Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland. I thought that was a big shock because, it was always the Baker Mayfield show there for the last, few years. They've changed their head coach. Been like, guys have been coming in and out. I mean, imagine having a team with Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson on the same team. It's like,
so what about
Nick Chubb? Well, I'm saying just in terms of Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson and how they treat their women. It's Cleveland, hide your women. That's my recommendation. But having those two on the same team is going to be wild. But no, but certainly, like, in terms of just the impact on the team, you got Nick Chubb, of course, with Kareem Hunt. You have Deshaun Watson. They just have got Amari Cooper as well.
Flat tire.
They always right, but he's a better receiver than they've ever had. Better than OBJ and better than Jarvis Landry. And now they have Deshaun Watson, who runs the ball a lot. They have those two running backs. They have a great offensive line. They're going to lead the league in rushing this year. And then you have Amari Cooper, like I said, who, if they could just kind of find a way to throw the ball a little bit more, they have a much better quarterback in Deshaun Watson than they do with Baker Mayfield. They have a pretty decent defense already. Decent, not great, but decent. I think they're going to make, a big step forward compared to where they've been the last couple of years. That is, again, if Deshaun Watson ends up playing. I just think that will bring the most impact. You got guys in there that could really have like such an explosive offense and be one of the best teams in the NFL.
So let me ask you real quick on that one. If say Goodell says, look, we have to do something because it will make us look bad. We talked all about domestic violence and, sexual harassment and all that. 4-game suspension. Is he still on your radar as your number one? Are you targeting him in the early rounds if he gets a 4-game suspension? And I say early round, like he is someone you're going to take in the first 4 rounds. Would you take that chance on him?
No, probably not. No, 4 games is a lot of games to miss. And then there's always the uncertainty of taking a year off. Is he going to come in and be as effective? I mean, there's always a little bit of a risk there, but missing 4 games, that's too much. But would I take him, I don't know, 6th round, 7th round? Sure. As my starting quarterback, and then try to reach for, a backup quarterback you could throw in there for the first 4 rounds?
Yeah.
The first 4 weeks? Yeah, I would do that.
Right. I like it.
He's young. He's great. I mean, he runs. I mean, he does it. He was one of the best quarterbacks 2 years ago. People forget how great his last season was in Houston.
Yeah, but he had, I mean, let's not forget, he had some good weapons. He had like one of the top receivers he threw to. Amari Cooper doesn't stay healthy. That's my only fear, is what happens to that offense. And they are a very run-focused offense in that. You know what I mean? Like, if they are going to rely on him to do a lot of play action or run plays, is he going to get hurt? Like, he's great to watch. But I'm just a little nervous about the receiving situation.
Sure. I'm not looking at it based on Deshaun Watson being the best fantasy quarterback. I'm not even thinking fantasy. I'm thinking more just the impact that he makes to a team compared to all the other free agent signings and pickups. And
so you don't think Russell Wilson? Let's go talk to the time. I'm sorry to jump in. Russell Wilson, do you don't think has an immediate impact on that Denver offense?
I think he does, but Russell Wilson is getting up there in age. He doesn't run as much as he used to. I don't think the Denver. I'm not thrilled about the Denver receivers. I'm not like, oh, that team's going to be unbelievable. I mean, who is their running back in Denver?
It's Melvin Gordon and their rookie. That was a.
Yeah,
I'd have to Google
just
it.
yeah, exactly. So you can't even remember. It's like nothing exciting. There's nothing exciting there. So if I were to pick between the two, Russell Wilson is what, 32, 33 years old. Watson's 26. So I mean, I just think something like that is he's just not. I like Russell Wilson going there, but I don't know. I've seen enough of him the last couple of years in Seattle where I'm like, he disappears. He falters. He starts off with a bang and then he disappears.
All right. So this is going to be a shock because I'm not a fan of this guy. I like what you're saying, but I think the guy that's falling into the most established offense that's going to have the most immediate impact, it's going to be Matt Ryan.
Oh my goodness!
I hate it is a Matt Stafford situation, right? We always compared him to Matt Stafford. They never had that killer instinct. They never seemed to get over the hump. He's not going to be the focal point of the offense anymore, right? He doesn't need to be. He's got a great running back. He's got some good receivers on that team. Matt Ryan can throw the ball still. If he can just be efficient. Carson Wentz actually looked good on that offense. He just became Carson Wentz by the end of the season. I think that's what cost him. But I think if Matt Ryan could just be Matty Ice, not great, just be himself, just be stable. I think that's what Indianapolis needed to get over that hump. They actually have a solid quarterback. I mean, I know he's old. He's not a long-term solution, but I would say he can make it. I mean, if you look at that division, I think he can have an immediate impact and actually have a chance to elevate them to win their conference.
Sure, but it was a shock that the Colts didn't even make the playoffs last year because I thought, I watched the Hard Knocks episode and it was just amazing, like how good they looked week after week, and then they just faltered at the very end. And
when Wentz started playing like shit,
a lot of the blame went on Wentz because he didn't have. I think there was a stat that he only threw for over 200 yards like once in the final 6 games of the season or something crazy like that. So, of course, they have Jonathan Taylor, right? They have their great offensive line. They don't have as great a receivers as you think they do. I think Matt Ryan had better receivers his entire career in Atlanta with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley.
No, I get that. But I don't think they're done making moves. You don't think they're going to try to pick up a receiver?
No, probably not. But I mean, that's as of right now, you're saying I don't know if he would make that big of an impact I mean, I think he's better than Carson Wentz. And I think if that's the one guy that they're missing to put them over the hump, yeah, I could see it happening. But I don't have as much faith in Matt Ryan at this stage of his career. I mean, his MVP year was 2016. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and I'm not claiming he's going to win MVP. I'm not even saying. I think they actually have a solid quarterback that can throw the ball. The defenses just can't stack the box and try to stop Jonathan Taylor because Matt Ryan, if you give him an opening, he's capable of hitting that receiver, throwing deep, making big plays. He doesn't turn the ball over. If he's not forcing the ball, I think Matt Ryan is efficient, and I think that's all they need is just someone to show up and play efficient football. And that's where Carson Wentz, what cost him is that he would panic and make stupid throws or cost him the game, right? Or turn over the ball at the worst time. That's the Carson Wentz story. But I think Matt Ryan, because who in that division, if you think of Russell Wilson, he's not winning the AFC West, not with the talent that's in the AFC West right now. There's no way Russell Wilson's going to make that much of an impact to overcome Kansas City and even San Diego at this point, right? Who in Matt Ryan's division do you think the Titans have? I think it's going to be between them two. Houston sucks.
No, I see what you're saying there with Matt Ryan.
I think he has more of a chance. And they have Michael Pittman Jr., and you're underestimating him. He's actually a good receiver.
Yeah.
I know he had him.
He was on your fantasy team. That's a good.
Yeah, but he is good.
Come on now.
But he is good.
He's okay. He's okay. But remember, I wonder what the team feels about the general manager and the coach. I remember the coach, when he took Carson Wentz, he was his guy from Philadelphia, Frank Reich. That was his guy. And I think he helped draft him. He helped bring him in to Indianapolis. 1 year. Didn't even want to give him a chance for a second year. They traded his ass out of there. Now they're on to their 5th different quarterback in 5 years. 5 QBs in 5 years. That's ridiculous. Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, now Matt Ryan.
Andrew Luck was not his fault. He got injured and retired. That's beyond his control.
I'm not saying anything. But
Phillip
I'm just
Rivers
saying,
was washed up, and they made him still look decent, even with his noodle arm. They made Frank Reich made Carson Wentz look good, and he was awful.
They hid those quarterbacks because they had a great offensive line. They had a great running game and running back with Jonathan Taylor and an up and coming defense. I just feel like now they're going with another old guy in Matt Ryan, where they're like, gee, they're going to give him 1 year. If he doesn't perform, is he gone? Are they going to go to their 6th quarterback next year?
Feel like, why hold on to him? I would say you got Jonathan Taylor. Just give me a guy that can throw the ball when we're down, and we don't, because what killed them? They couldn't catch up to other offenses when they fell behind. Jonathan Taylor, either they blew up and had control of the game, or they fell behind. And if they fell behind, Carson Wentz couldn't elevate his game to keep him competitive. Matt Ryan can, even as bad as the teams he's been around, with a broken Julio half the time. You got to admit, like, how often was Julio healthy for Matt Ryan? Not often. He had to rely on Calvin Ridley when he was up and coming, and then Calvin Ridley had mental issues in the last season. So he never had a good running back. When's the last time Matt Ryan had a good running back? So it was basically the Matt Ryan show all the time. Now he doesn't have to be. He just has to be a pocket passer.
If he agrees to be that,
Now, and I'm telling you, because you guys mocked me when I said that about Stafford. You guys all doubted it. I'm telling you, Matt Ryan, this is his year. This is year. AFC championship game. AFC championship game. Calling it right now.
I like it. I know Raccoon doesn't like the bold takes, but I like that bold take.
Right now, I'm sticking with it.
And speaking of Atlanta, man, how bad are they going to be? Right, Julio Jones, right, is long gone. Calvin Ridley, he's out,
damaged. He's out anyways, even if he came back.
Right. No, and but they have no quarterback now, right? They got to find a quarterback. They just re-signed. They lost Russell Gage, right? He was like their 3rd or 2nd best receiver, you could say, last year. And they re-signed Cordarrelle Patterson to come back, and he's probably like, shit, I can't do this all by myself. Like that team is going to be
the only guy I feel bad for is that kid, the tight end, Kyle.
Oh yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, exactly right. He's probably like shit.
His career is like all that potential, and now he's got no weapons. And Houston is a no-show team. They're gone. They're not going to be anything this year. And Atlanta is going to be that other garbage team. They're all going to be fighting for draft spots, and draft picks for next year. But anyways, Big B, I know the clock is. We went a little over 8:30.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up there. So it was good to catch up. I think it's long overdue. We have a lot to talk about. So this could have went 2 hours, Big Meat, because we had so much to talk about. But
3 hours. 3 hours if Jarvis was here.
Yeah. With Jarvis, after a couple cocktails, we could have gone all night if we had it.
Exactly.
All right, Big Meat. I'm going to wrap it up there. For those that have been asking for a podcast, here you go. It's long overdue, but we finally got one in. And for those looking at where to follow us, YouTube, Apple, SoundCloud. And if you could write a review or put a review in on any of those platforms, it would be appreciated. All right, Big Meat, we'll wrap it up there. Have a good night.
All right. See ya. You too.